Hello Angels and Biscuits, CSDL here, and today's video is going to be a bookshelf scavenger hunt tag. So this video is originally done by Megan's Reading Revelations, and I will leave a link to her video in the description and that corner thingy so you can go check her video out. But essentially this happened over on her Discord. She asked everybody for suggestions, and then from there she compiled a list of 20 questions. And your job is to find a book from your bookshelves that corresponds to the question. Now, I have a stack of books here. I pre-selected that, well, not pre-selected, but like I went and found them and brought them over here because my bookshelves are not ideal for searching and filming at the same time. I did manage to find one for each question, so I have 20 books here with me. However, I will show you my bookshelves and what I have to work with. I will insert some video of my bookshelves so you can see my hoard of books, my dragon hoard of books, if you will. But yeah, so why don't we get started with the questions. Number 1, a book with an animal companion. So that one, I chose Hollow Kingdom by Kira Jane Buxton. Now this one is about an animal. It's about a crow, but he also has an animal companion dog for most of the book, so it's an animal with an animal companion. So yeah. Also, this book was deceptive. Like, if you like Stephen King, give this book a try, because I thought it was actually going to be more humorous or young adult, but it's actually quite adult and quite dark and very good. So Hollow Kingdom, give that a try. Okay, so number 2, a book with an alliterative title. Okay. Dead Until Dark. So this is a Sookie Stackhouse novel, or maybe many of you have seen the show True Blood. These are the novels that it was loosely, and I mean loosely, based off of. Like, season 1 followed book 1 fairly well, I guess, and book 2 maybe half of like the first season followed half of book 2. Anyway, it deviates so hard. I mean, don't get me wrong, I still love True Blood, but the books are way better. Like, if you liked True Blood the show, you should read the books. I know I'm kind of plugging all of these books, I'm sorry, but some of these are just really good. But yeah, most of the Sookie Stackhouse novels are actually quite alliterative, so that's fun. Yeah, this is the first book, Dead Until Dark. Very good. Question 3, a book with a character that has a fear or phobia. So I unnecessarily struggled with this one because we have a very obvious choice in Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets with Ronald Weasley, who has a fear/phobia of spiders, and I can totally relate to that because me too, Ron. Me too. Number 4, a book written the year you were born. Okay, so I had to Google this one, like books written in the year I was born, and I lucked out because I recently just acquired The Giver. I did not know this was written the year I was born. Made me feel a smidgen old. But yeah, so book written the year I was born, The Giver by Lois Lowry. I honestly haven't read this since I was in school, but like I was at a thrift shop not that long ago and I saw this and I'm like, I have wanted to reread it. It was the perfect opportunity, and then it paid off because I got to use it for this challenge. So win-win. Oh, and because I forgot to mention, the author's name, but the Sookie Stackhouse novels are written by Charlaine Harris. So, my bad. Ooh, okay, number 5, a book with a character that has good style. Okay, so this was actually my suggested question, and when I suggested this question, I absolutely had one character in mind, and that was Magnus Bane from Cassandra Clare's Shadowhunters novels. This happens to be the Bane Chronicles, which is a book that's just about Magnus, but he is a very flashy character. He dresses to impress. He's got style, like, and he is my favorite person in the Shadowhunters series. I haven't actually gotten around to reading the Mortal Instruments yet. I will be rectifying that soon. But yeah, the books that I have read, which are all out of order, Magnus is my favorite. Magnus has style. He is beautiful. I love him so much. So much. And I love him in the TV show too. Just Magnus for days. I could talk about him for days. You will refrain, but I could. Number 6, a book that is signed by the author. Okay. Okay, there it is. This one, Hook and Jill by Andrea Jones. So this book I got at there was this event in a town, well, I guess it's more, it's a city, it's a big city, and it's on a lake, and they had this big ships event, like they were ships like that you could even pass off as a pirate ship if you wanted to deck it out that way. Like, they were gigantic ships, and the author happened to be there selling her books and stuff, and I am a sucker for books, so my boyfriend was with me, and we went to check out her little book stand, and we bought the book, and she signed it for me, so I have her signature there. But yeah, that was pretty cool. So it's not a printed signature, it is signed by the author. I haven't gotten around to reading this yet. It has been a year or two, but I do have a whole TBR planned around pirates. Not sure which month that will be, but this is included in my future pirates TBR. So this book is about Hook from Peter Pan. I think this is a more adult-oriented novel, so that will be fun, and I am excited to read it when I get around to my pirate TBR. Number 7, a book with food on the cover. So that one, I don't know if it counts as if it's lazy or not, but it's a very obvious choice, I guess, because it was there on my shelf, and it's very obvious. Twilight. So I have Twilight on my shelves because I recently read Midnight Sun, and I wanted to reread Twilight so I could compare and contrast the two. But yeah, so either Midnight Sun or Twilight would work because they both have fruit things on the cover. Yeah. So Twilight by Stephanie Meyer. I'm running out of space. Okay, so many books. Number 8, a book with a prologue. Also, maybe kind of an obvious or easy choice, but Lord of the Rings by J.R.R. Tolkien. We have prologue. Yeah. Chunky. So yeah, I don't know if, it is a lazy or obvious choice, but I know a lot of older books, more classics, do tend to have prologues or chapter titles. I think that's the next question, is a book with chapter titles. So yeah, Lord of the Rings, a classic, a favorite. Next one is number 9, a book with chapter titles. Sticking with the Tolkien train, we have The Hobbit. It has chapter titles. Ooh, Out of the Frying Pan into the Fryer. Fun title, I'm just saying. Makes me a little hungry. Also, I don't know, maybe I'm part Hobbit. I am short. So, another fun classic from Tolkien. Number 10, a book by 2 or more authors. Okay. We went Cassandra Clare again, and we have the Red Scrolls of Magic. So this is like a spin-off, or I don't know really if spin-off's the right word, but it's a small series about Magnus and Alec. This one is co-authored with Wesley Chu. This is a wonderful book. I recommend The Red Scrolls of Magic and The Lost Book of the White. It's the second book of the series. They are wonderful if you love Magnus and Alec from the Shadowhunter series. Just saying, also could go on for days because I loved it so much. This is actually the book that got me to watch the Shadowhunters television series, which I love and I'm obsessed with. Like, it is one of my favorite TV shows of all time. But yeah, so Red Scrolls of Magic, Cassandra Clare and Wesley Chu. Number 11, a book that has food or drink stains on it. I don't actually have a lot of those, but the one we went with was Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. It's hard, maybe not, I don't know. It's very worn. I've mistreated a lot of my Harry Potter books because I got them when I was young, you know, and children are not the best with books. Or at least I was not one of those children that are good with books. If those children exist, cool, but I was not one of them. Number 12, a book that made you cry. Okay, yes, okay. This one. Anne McCaffrey's All the Weirs of Pern. So, I love Anne McCaffrey's Dragon Riders books. I don't know, mixed feels about it from a lot of people. Like, some people really love them, some people absolutely hated her books. I don't know. I love them, and I own like a whole shelf of them, and I'm missing a ton. But this one in particular, I won't say too much, but my favorite character of her entire, like, out of all her books, my favorite character dies in this one. Like, this is the book where he dies, and it makes me very sad. Like, there were tears, and I just, it hurt me. This book hurts me. That's all I'm saying. Like, the story, whatever, fine, it's good, it's cool, but then it crushes my soul. Okay, moving on. A book you've read multiple times. Okay, so this one also, Anne McCaffrey, The Master Harper of Pern. Like, I absolutely just loved this book. Robinton is one of my favorite characters. This book is all about Robinton, who is the Master Harper. He appears in a lot of the other Dragon Riders books. He's smart, he's helpful, he's an overall wonderful character, and he may or may not be the character I was talking about in the last book, but, like, and for the record, like, when in All the Weirs of Pern, it's not like this is a sudden, he's young, like, this is a surprise. I mean, like, it's not anything like that, but he's my favorite character, and he dies, and okay, but this one is all about, like, his childhood, and him growing up, and him becoming the Master Harper, and it's, like, basically his life story, and I'm there for it, and I love it. And I've read this a ton of times. Like, I have 2 copies of this book because this is the one that I would take everywhere. I've even have the spine cracked and it's a little bit, you know, worn because I've taken it with me places and I've read it so many times. Yeah, so Master Harper of Pern. Where are we? Number 14, a book with a main character that looks like you. Okay, so this one was a little bit tricky for me. I didn't exactly go for exact look-alike, like a twin, but for that one I went with Vin from Brandon Sanderson's Mistborn. I went with Vin because she is small. She typically has short hair. I know hers is darker, described as darker than mine. I am a blonde, but I went with more the style. You know, she likes it short. It could pass as a masculine hairstyle. She doesn't typically wear feminine clothing, and you know, like, she's small in stature and she's small in frame. So in those regards, Vin and I are very similar. And honestly, if I can get like a mist cloak or a cloak that looks like a mist cloak, I would totally cosplay Vin because we're both small people and she was great and I loved her. I loved Sanderson too. Like, wow, did this series surprise me. Yeah, okay, so Vin. Vin is my choice. Number 15, the oldest book you own, either publication or one you've had the longest. So for that one, I went with book I've owned the longest. That just, I don't know, that's just what felt right for me. The one I wanted to choose. So for that one, I picked Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. This one, I think I've had, I don't know, was it since first grade? It was grade school for sure. Maybe first grade. I'm pretty sure I got books 1 through even 4. I think books 1 through 4 at like those school book fairs. I don't know if anybody else remembers them, but like they had those scholastic book fairs, and I am like 95% sure that I got the first 4 Harry Potter books at those book fairs. So this is one of the oldest books, like one of the books I've owned the longest. Number 16, the most valuable book you own, either monetary or sentimental. So I went sentimental for this one because I don't really own any books that are worth a whole lot. If I did, I would totally pick that one because I would be proud of that, but I don't. So for my sentimental book choice, I chose The Dragon Lover's Guide to Pern by Anne McCaffrey and Jodi Lynn Nye. So this is not like one of her novels. This is like a companion book that talks about the world of Pern, some of the characters, the world itself. It even has recipes in here. There's maps, there's diagrams of buildings. Like, it's basically your guide to her world that she built. And this was gifted to me by a family member all the way back in like 2006. I believe I was in 8th grade at the time, which tracks because I really started getting into Anne McCaffrey's books in middle school. So timeline makes sense. But yeah, Dragon Lover's Guide to Pern. Our next question is 17, a book that starts with the first letter of your first name. So for this one, I thought about using my name, but then I'm like, well, on the internet, I go by CSDL, so we will be using the letter C in this case, and for that, I chose Carry On by Rainbow Rowell. And my goodness, is this an adorable and wonderful series. Like, she wrote, this was like, okay, so these characters are fan fiction in another one of her books, and she wrote a whole series for those fan fiction characters from one of her other books that the main character of that book was writing, and it's beautiful. Like, and if you haven't like checked out any of Rainbow Rowell's books, I highly recommend you do. Fangirl, which I think you can see it up on my shelf, is where this series actually stems from. Fangirl is wonderful. The main character in Fangirl writes a fan fiction, and the characters in this book are what she's writing. So we get the fan fiction from another novel, and this is beautiful because this honestly reminds me if Harry Potter and Draco Malfoy ended up a couple and one of them was a vampire. Like, it's beautiful. It's a fun, and it's kind of a fun, fluffy magic world. It's nothing too dark or overly complicated. I mean, they do tackle some pretty heavy themes in future books, which I think is great, and it's done fairly well, but it's not like the magic system or the villains and stuff. None of that is like overly complicated, and I highly recommend checking out Rainbow Rowell. That brings us to number 18, a book cover that is your favorite color. Okay. Found it. So I chose Rise of the Isle of the Lost, a Descendants novel. This happens to be book 3 by Melissa de la Cruz. I haven't read this one yet. I have read book 1, but this is blue. Blue is my favorite color, and it has hints of purple. I like purple too, and it's got like a shiny blue and purple inside cover. In the Descendants novels, if you're wondering, there is a movie series on Disney Plus, and the books themselves are about the children of Disney villains. So if you like Disney focused things, this series. Number 19, the newest book on your shelf. It can be one just acquired or newest by publication date. So this actually might be both, but it's newly acquired. That was my intent. Let me see publication. Yeah, so this also, I believe, is my newest by publication date too, but it is Chain of Gold by Cassandra Clare, The Last Hours, book 1. So this is another Shadowhunters novel. I just picked this up the other day because it said it's a collector's first edition, and I was like, ooh, and it's a shiny cover. Cassandra Clare's books have notoriously shiny covers, which is a big draw for me. Like, I'm lured to shiny things like a Niffler from the Fantastic Beasts movies. Yeah, there's that. That's what lured me to the Red Scrolls of Magic in the first place. The shiny cover, I was not disappointed. But I'm not gonna read this one for a while, but it is my newest edition. It is a Shadowhunters novel, and it is shiny. And that brings us to our last question, number 20, a book from your childhood. So for that one, I know what's here. I picked Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. This was my favorite Harry Potter book as a kid, and it was kind of like my gateway cosplay book. That and the film, the Prisoner of Azkaban film and the book. I loved Hermione so much in this book. I even tried to dress up like Hermione when I was young and a child. Like, it was my first cosplay, even though I had no idea what cosplay was. So Prisoner of Azkaban always kind of has this special place in my book heart because it has all that extra meaning to me. You know, it kind of started my love of dressing up like characters that I love, and that is like half of what I do on the internet. So here we are. And that is all 20 questions and 20 books later, which I now have to put all back on my bookshelves. That's gonna be fun. That is future me's problem. Really, it's like 10 minutes in the future me's problem, but like, whatever. Mm. But I totally completed the bookshelf scavenger hunt. I found a book for every question, and I feel pretty proud of myself for that, even if I have to put 20 books back on the shelves. I'm proud of me. If you guys participated in this bookshelf tag, let me know how you guys did in the comment section down below, and I will see you guys next time.